When we came into this home, at the very first moment, when we actually moved in, like completely, both Al and I just felt so blessed that we were in this gorgeous, gorgeous home. I view it as a welcoming, elegant home. We want you to feel relaxed, but it's just classy, and I love that part. And so it far exceeded even my dreams.
Yeah, I feel very much the same. Whether I'm driving into the property along the serpentine driveway or up in the shop that we created up there for not only storage of things, but other activities and fun times, or down here at the house, each room has its own character and uniqueness. I enjoy every space in this house for different reasons. When I'm sitting in the hot tub, I used to think sunrises were spectacular, and it turns out moonrises are even more spectacular. When I'm in my office, I not only think about my memories and the things that went on, but the things I'm about to create and be engaged in. So it's a good energizing room for me. The kitchen and the living room area is widely open and widely welcoming and very spacious, and we like that, so we couldn't be happier being here.
For me, I really, really loved the hot tub room. And I guess I liked Al's coffered ceilings, how they were able to manage that as well. They're just very skilled. And I love my kitchen. And I know I say my kitchen, but it's my kitchen. It's beautiful.
Actually, what attracted me to Bruckelmyer was a radio spot that was on KDAL at the time, and they were talking about their design build and their attributes, and particularly their digitization and how they could come at sort of looking at your home while it was being built. And I was familiar with that software, and so I was intrigued about the fact that Bruckelmyer had it. And I talked to Erica to say they might be worth contacting.
They instantly made me feel comfortable. Like they weren't doing the hard sell. It was just, we are really customer focused. What is it? What are your dreams? What are your wishes? And that really impressed me. I didn't feel pressured with Bruckelmyers. I felt like I was treated in a very, very, we just want to get to know you and realize your dreams.
By virtue of my career, I was, more materially involved in construction of all forms and sizes. So for me, it wasn't so much of not knowing what we're about to get into. It was probably knowing too much about what we were getting into, and how would they perform at the end of the day on all phases of the project. And whether it was designing, whether it was building, whether it was being on the property, whether it was communicating, they did an excellent job. And for me, technical communication through software and through pictures and all that, I appreciate all of that. But I'm still sort of an old school guy, and I like to have a handheld, verbal face-to-face, and they definitely made themselves available. And I really appreciated that, especially when there was sort of, mid-build issues like storm runoff or other things like that, where we all had to adjust on the run, because every build project has some adjustment on the run, and it requires consultation, and they were excellent in that regard.
I just felt that the experience itself, and I would never say this to anybody because everybody keeps telling me that building a home is a nightmare event. This was actually a very pleasant event for me personally because of the instant connection with the Bruckelmyer team and their contractors. The communication style was excellent. It was just excellent, and they were supremely responsive, which is, communication's everything. If you don't understand what it is that your goal is, then a lot of problems can happen. But I did not feel that. It was just a very trusting, and that's what I felt coming on, is that I trust these guys. I trust what they're doing. They have to get the math right. They have to get the, geometry right. And I so appreciate that, because in the end, they put their name on it. It's not just for us, it's for them as well. They want to have a quality build, because that's what they're about.
The beauty of the Bruckelmyer process is that there are various ways to engage with them. You can engage tip to tail from the front end, a process called discovery, all the way to the final build and conclusion, which is what we did at the end of the day. We brought a design to Bruckelmyer of a home that we liked. We had a set of principles that we had in mind, 5 or 6 principles. And when we brought those plans to them, they further improved those plans. I think it's a really good process, a good part of the process up front. And the beauty of the Bruckelmyer context is you can pay for the incremental services along the way. Because you had a discovery process and you either learned you did want to do it, or you learned you didn't want to do it, or you learn that you want to do it differently, you can pay for just that portion, and it's highly valuable, and I highly recommend it, because you also convey to the builder what your hopes and dreams and visions are, because you don't know necessarily either what is totally possible. They might enlighten you further to say, have you thought about it this way? Or we think swinging the garage this way would make a better outcome for your desire to have more sun splashing into your home in the wintertime. Have you considered that? And all of the juices start to flow at that point in time, where synergies get created, ideas get expanded, costs get normalized, and ultimately you get your vision and you get your relationship built with your builder in a way that you build that trust that Erica talked about earlier. They're also there available to provide counsel on maybe additions you might want to include, things that you might want to change. They have the prints, they have the plans. They were there when it was created, and they're living with you all the way through it to the end, being a support partner. That to me is the big differentiator in working with Bruckelmyers and also working on a custom basis. In our case, they built a greenhouse on this addition here. I always felt very strongly about that little promontory up on top of the hill up there, that was another little unique spot for what I believe could be a post and beam greenhouse. And I'd spoken to Bruckelmyers about it once, way back in the project. It got brought back up a year later, and they said, yeah, we remember that conversation. Let us come up and drone that property again so we make sure we have enough footprint up there for what it is you're doing. And why don't you share with us your concepts of post and beam, and then we'll see what we can create. I didn't think about that design being that way, not only post and beam, but the sort of ante-room that was added on for additional storage. And so the greenhouse turned out wonderfully well. It's full functioning greenhouse, but it's also full functioning storage. And it gets to this nation of how Bruckelmyer thinks through and envisions, along with the customer, what it potentially could be and even more. And it certainly has been that.
It fits with the house. It's not like a greenhouse that they just stuck in there. It literally looks like it was meant to be there, and I love that part of it. They just create that synergy, which I appreciate. When you're with someone for 2+ years, you get to know one another and you actually anticipate the needs. So I would say the Bruckelmyer team knows Al's style. So they don't pitch anything that Al's going to negate because they already know. Or in my case, they already know my taste. They already know. I cannot stress the value of that relationship build. And they do take that time. They truly do. And to me, that means everything. It's priceless. It's not just, oh, I'm building this because this is my job. It's, I really care about fulfilling what it is that you want out of this whole thing. And I just always appreciated that they really know Al to the point of almost having Alisms quoted back to us. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
You do get a tip-to-tail service with Bruckelmyers, and I think that you can then customize your home to what it is you want. I think with a non-custom home, you get a set of finishes and furnishings, and that's what you get at the end of the day. And you don't get the luxury of choice. Here you get the luxury of choice. You may not still be able to afford certain things, or you may be surprised that, oh, I didn't know I could have had that. I'm glad that you raised that. And you don't always get that in a non-custom context.
I love the fact that they have their own carpenters, their own cabinet makers. I love the fact that they provided an interior decorator. That was very, very helpful. It was somewhat a one-stop shop, which I appreciate, because part of the process is you get into building fatigue, and they never made this as if you were just exhausted by making decisions. They helped it. They made it fun. And by doing that, it's because they had so many people involved on all facets of the build. And we were greatly appreciative of that.
When they talk about overseeing the project, they mean that literally from tip to tail. And with their technical background, with their relationships they have with vendors and partners, they're able to get the best and leverage the best partners to come in and give the best price, but also the best quality. And even the contractors that came in, or the subs in their regard, are super high quality people. So Bruckelmyer vets all of that when they promise a build that's going to be to your specification and like. And all the work that we had literally commissioned and paid for on the front end, droning, all the gradations, understanding the lot, they made that stuff freely available to other partners in this project. so that would ease their work at the end of the day to bring an entire unified vision together, including the landscaping. And so Bruckelmyer's is a great partner with the partners as well too, and so we couldn't speak more highly of Bruckelmyer's right now.
They are a group that is full of integrity. They own what they do, and there's no doubting. They are one of the most honest companies I've ever had the privilege of knowing. They are professional and amazing.
Custom's not for everybody, but if you can get into a good relationship with a builder like Bruckelmyer's, I think you're going to be much happier.